Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining me today on the My Bourbon Journey Whiskey Review channel. So today we're diving into from Stranahan's Distillery out of Denver, Colorado. This is going to be their single malt, cask strength, single barrel pick. Actually, it's a Don's Liquors and Wine pick out of California. But again, this is the Stranahan's single malt, cask strength store pick. So proof-wise, this comes in at 116.08 proof or 58.04% ABV. Again, it's a single malt, American single malt, so we're primarily going to be malted barley on this one. It is non-age stated, and the MSRP on this is right around that $55 to $60 price point. So for what it is, as we get into the review, you'll see, I think in terms of what it has to offer at that price range, it can be a really nice value from that standpoint. So, all right, let's go ahead and we'll kind of get into the review. Color-wise, really nice kind of like light copperish type of color, very kind of traditional color on that one. So maybe a tad bit darker than some of the single malts usually will be, but yeah, really nice kind of light copper type of color. So, all right, let's dive into the nose here. Ooh. So one thing predominantly for me that I get a lot of with a single malt is this green apple kind of aspect to it. And with this, I get like a little bit of like a frosted flakes or maybe a corn flake, something like that. Really nice vanilla characters to it. And very fruity. Again, with that green apple before, you start to get a lot of the like green fruits, maybe like, you know, a pear, apple, you know, green grapes, things like that, where it's very bright, floral, fresh, kind of fresh fruit aspect to it. Really nice spice, like almost like a baking spice that's there. Maybe like a cinnamon, maybe even like some nutmeg that's there. Maybe even a light like cocoa powder, not quite full on chocolate or anything, but more of like a dusty powder type of chocolate to that. And then also something I got was a little bit of a lemon citrus. There's a little bit of a slight bit of like a tangy note on this one. And again, something else I do get with single malts, same thing with even some scotches at times, is more of a like bread dough, like a doughy aspect to it. And that might go back to also the corn flakes or like a frosted flakes where you get some of the vanilla characteristics to it as well. Definitely some of the barley, and again, all of what I've been interpreting is a lot of times what you're smelling with, you know, some really, really nice barley. Yeah, that rich like vanilla comes through quite a bit. It's got a really nice nose from the standpoint of being like very floral and almost perfume-like. There's that aspect to it where it's really defined, floral, sweet, things along those lines. So, all right, more importantly, let's see how this bad boy is going to taste. Cheers. Nice, nice like hug to it right away. You do get that proof that's on there. 116 proof, so it's letting you know there's a little bit of proof there. I would say for me, it's almost like my first thought or impression would be a caramel covered apple, something like a green apple covered in caramel, something along those lines. Again, some of that like dusty, powdery chocolate that's there as well. Nice spice. It almost reminds you of like that holiday spice, like something like an allspice, something along those lines as well. It's actually quite a bit of that spice, that like kind of powdered, like cocoa powder, something along those lines. Definitely the barley has the influence of, you know, the sweet green fruits, the doughy aspect, that like cornflake type of profile to it. again, the finish as it kind of begins to develop, I mean, it's long. The overall profile of this is really, really nice. Even a nice amount of oak, I would say, on this. The one thing I like about it is the fact that this is a cask strength or a barrel proof single malt. I know you don't see a lot of it, I guess, but in terms of this and what it has to offer, a lot of the scotches are a little bit lower in proof, but something like this at that 116 plus proof, yeah, I think it's letting all of that really shine. It's got a really nice mouthfeel, coats the mouth extremely well. The finish is nice and long on it. You're left a lot with those again, the citrus, maybe even some of the green fruits, that there's enough vanilla there that when I said frosted flakes before, that you still get some of like the corn flake, but still some of that like kind of like powdered sugar sweetness. Definitely some of that like kind of cocoa powder that's there. There's a lot going on with this. I mean, even though it's a single grain, there's an awful lot of complexity and flavors that are just kind of exploding on this thing. And it's so far really, really nice. The proof on this, I would say, is like spot on. It's drinking like it's 116 proof. Not super hot. It's just reminding you that there's definitely some proof. It leaves a really nice, heat, like a little bit in the chest, but not to the point where it's overly hot. It just lets you know that there's a nice full amount of proof that's there on this one. But I think it's a really, really nice single malt. And I think if people had an opportunity to not only get this, I would definitely recommend it. But if you can try more cask strength single malts, I think the overall complexity and what that has to offer is significantly better than just standard American single malts at lower proofs. And again, that kind of applies to a lot of whiskeys in general. But for what this has to offer, again, at 116 proof, picking this barrel that they did at Don's Liquors and Wines, I think they did a really, really nice job. If they had several to pick from, this kind of hit a lot of those points that you really look for in a really nice, well put together single malt. So there you have it. That's my interpretation of this cask strength single barrel Stranahan's. Again, it was a pick that was done by Don's Liquors and Wines. Fantastic job. That's all I can say with this one. So something I'll really continue to go back to quite a bit, especially when you want something that's a little bit different or outside of the profile of like a bourbon, something along those lines. So there you have it. Again, this is the Stranahan's. This is a single barrel, barrel proof pick, again, from at cask strength from Don's Liquors and Wine. So go check them out. I'll have a link in the description below to this bottle specifically. But in general, even if this one's not available, if you can find a nice cask strength single malt, I would highly encourage it, especially if it's from Stranahan. So with that being said, I want to say thank you so much for tuning in to another one of my reviews. I greatly appreciate you tuning in and your support. If you'd like to follow me, you can on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. And if you'd like to help support the channel, you can through my Patreon page, which I'll have linked in the description below. So again, with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. And remember, it's about the journey and not the destination. Cheers.